someone?
Do you need some more?
I need one.
I knew.
Good thing I didn't take it.
Can't short the chief here.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's Common Council meeting. The clerk will call the roll, please.
Fernsler. Here. Riley.
Here.
Fowler.
Here.
Anderson.
Present.
Hanson.
Here.
Jarvis. Sedlacek.
Present.
Lottie.
Here.
Thank you. We'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome to everybody in our audience tonight and those in our listening audience at home. Next item on the agenda is item 3, acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting held April 26, 2011. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved, Alder Anderson.
Second that, Alder Riley.
We have a first and a second to accept the minutes of the regular meeting held April 26, 2011. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. I have a agenda amended item for 7A to add a name to the appointment on 7A Committee on Aging. The name is Betsy, and I'll spell the last name for you, K-I-E-D-R-O-W-S-K-I. And that will be a one-year unexpired term as well. Do we have a motion to accept the amended agenda item?
So moved.
Second, Alder Lottie.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion to the agenda amendment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is hereby amended. Thank you very much. Next item is the audience portion where we have people sign in from the audience to address the council. We recognize you. This is your chance to talk to us, and we get to listen. First person tonight is Donna Hahn. Donna?
Good evening, Mayor Pullman and council members. I'm here for the Plymouth Arts Center, and we are on your agenda tonight to have the street closed and to have a liquor license approved for our Festival of Fine Arts. One of our artist members created this beautiful poster for us again this year, and I think we have about 40 artists so far that have signed up to be in our art festival. It's going to be a full day of fine art. People can come and look at the booths and purchase items from the artists. We're going to have music, food, and it's going to be a wonderful day for children. We have abracadoodle art. So I hope all of you will attend, and I ask for your consideration. The date is Saturday, June 11th. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Next person that signed up tonight is Debbie Carr. Debbie?
Hello, everyone. I'm kind of here in the absence of Jerry Thompson, who is quite sick. And what we'd like to do is kind of go over some of the Wall Dog events that's going to be happening the end of June. We know there is a lot of support, community effort that's going on in getting the event together. Lots and lots of work is going on. The advantages of the event that we're seeing is the involvement of the community and all of the volunteers who are participating. It's also going to bring a lot of area people in from outside of Plymouth, outside of the county. We're hoping that there's even more draw from outside the state of Wisconsin. And what this does then is bring in extra tourist dollars to be spent here in the city, which is the whole idea of the event. The other thing that we do kind of want to point out is in comparing the mural that was painted of the trolley car and the expense that it took to do just that one mural, it was approximately $22,000. So over the course of time, I think one of the plans discussed was to possibly do another 7 murals over the course of 10 years. So I guess when you add up the figures, it gets quite costly. So the Wall Dog event idea is to bring in all the talented artists who are able to do this and to do 20 murals over the course of a week's time. And it would cost approximately $100,000, all sponsored by funds and people who want to contribute and see the event successful. So that's kind of what I wanted to say, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. And the last person that signed up tonight is Frank Madar. Did I say that correctly?
Madak,
Madak?
that's my sloppy penmanship, Mr. Mayor.
I'll accept that, and my poor pronunciation. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Frank Madak. I also represent the Wall Dogs. Again, Jerry's sick, so it takes 2 of us to speak on his behalf. I'd like to thank you for the consideration of, we have 6 bullet points in front of you this evening for your approval. These 6 points will make the event more successful, safer, and also allow us to get a lot of community involvement. Most of the time and energy spent with this event is volunteer, and it is very good. I think it's a very good event for the community. Being new into this community and being involved with the Wall Dogs, it's something that very few communities have the opportunity to take advantage of. And I think it's really going to heighten the city of Plymouth and the tourism coming here and pull some additional people in. But the 6 bullet points that are in front of you will really help the event and, again, the safety and the success of it. Thank you for the consideration.
Thank you, Frank. Moving on to the council agenda, item 5, Arbor Day proclamation and Tree City Award presentation by Olivia Watoon, Wisconsin Department of Natural Resource Regional Urban Forestry Coordinator. And I think I'll call in Bill Immig to start us off with that.
Were you going to read the proclamation tonight or not?
I think we should read the proclamation, and then I'll entertain a motion on it, and then we want to introduce Olivia. So why don't we have Clerk Huberty read it first? That's a good idea. Thank you.
Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and whereas Plymouth has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways, now therefore Donald O. Pullman, Mayor of the City of Plymouth, does hereby proclaim April 29th, 2011 as Arbor Day in the City of Plymouth and urges all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and to support our city's community forestry program. And further, he urges all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations.
Thank you. At this point, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read.
So moved, Alder Anderson.
Second, Sabacek.
We have a first and a second to approve the resolution as read. Any discussion?
Mayor,
Or
so
proclamation, I'm
do
sorry.
we approve a proclamation? We just
I
read
think
it.
that that's a nice added
Okay,
Yeah.
bonus.
all right. Approve. Okay. Call the roll.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Proclamation is therefore approved. I'll call on Olivia to come forward for the presentation, and then we'll give her the floor for a few minutes and tell us a few things that you want to let us know about. So, thank you very much on behalf of the City of Plymouth for recognizing the City of Plymouth as a tree city and an Arbor Day. Thank you.
I wanted to thank you and the council members and the citizens for inviting me here tonight to speak with you and give these 2 awards to you I have tonight for the city. It's a very exciting time because Plymouth has been doing a lot with their forestry program in the community here. One of the biggest things I think you all may know about is the Emerald Ash Borer plan that was put together in coordination with some of the other communities in the county, being proactive. And not only did you put this plan together, but you started to implement it. There's a situation where you did remove some ash trees and replant those right away. And what that does is it just saves the community money being proactive like that. And, you know, trees do a lot of other great things too, of course, lots of benefits, one of which is giving, people tend to spend more money and linger longer in downtown areas that are landscaped nicely and have some trees. So if you're doing any revitalization plans, think about adding some trees in there. So I guess one of 4 things that you need to do in order to receive a Tree City USA award is you need to have a tree board or a department taking care of the trees, and that falls under the Director of Public Works, Bill Inich, and he's done a great job taking care of things here. The second thing you need to do is have a tree care ordinance. You also need to spend $2 per capita on your tree care. And then you need to have an Arbor Day celebration and proclamation, which was read now, and you also had a celebration last week, I think. So, Mayor, I guess without further ado, I would like to present Mayor Coleman and the City of Plymouth with your 2010 Tree City USA Award. So congratulations there. This one is a growth award, and this is the first time that the community's ever received this. And this is basically for going above and beyond the call of duty. And you did this with that EAB plan. Bill had attended a very intensive tree managing training that he had gone to, and you also instituted a recycling program. So, like I said, you guys are doing some really great things here, and I'm impressed. So, congratulations, Mayor.
Good job.
One comment I'd like to make is, this is our 17th year of being a Tree City. And for 17 years, we've been reading that proclamation to the 2nd graders at St. John Lutheran. So there's probably some 20-year-old kids running around town that are listening to this and going, I remember when I was in 2nd grade. And we thank them. The mayor has always been a real big booster at the Arbor Day celebration, and it's kind of nice to get you guys involved a little bit, because you don't have the opportunity, and we do it during the middle of the day, so I'm glad. And in 17 years, this is the first time we actually had our DNR Urban Forest Coordinator come to a council meeting and present it. So thank you for coming, Olivia, and thank you again.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is item 6A, resolution providing for the sale of $7,180,000 combined utility revenue bonds. This is resolution number 14. We will stipulate that the resolution is on file in the clerk's office and also on our website. And to further explain about the resolution, we have our financial guru, Phil Cawson, here tonight to tell us more about where we stand and where we go from here. So, Bill, welcome this evening.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Prior to tonight's meeting, I did hand out kind of nothing has changed, but just an updated schedule for you and some information on the front of this pre-sale report that gives you kind of the timeline that we're looking at for the issuance. If the resolution is approved tonight, and again, what you're financing with that is the utility building, and we've revised that project amount to reflect the recommendation from the council to contribute some reserve funds from the utility in the amount of $750,000. We're also looking to fund the TID 6 utility-related projects, the water main, the well house projects, as part of this. So if you call for the bond sale tonight by passing the resolution, that'll set in motion our activity to prepare what's called an official statement. And that official statement, again, is what we use to market the bonds and sell the bonds on behalf of the city. As part of that process, we do meet with Moody's Investor Service. They do rate the utility and the city, and we would have a rating call with them sometime in early June. We haven't set that date yet. And then the plan right now is that we would come back in front of the council at your meeting on June 14th. And at that meeting is when you would actually approve the sale, approve the bond issue, and have final rates. So that's the meeting where everything kind of gets approved. And then you would close on the bond, right now scheduled for July 6th. So that's when the funds would actually be wired to the city. In this packet, what we've included are a couple of the schedules that you've seen before at your last council meeting. But as a reminder, and I apologize for the rather small type, I hope you all brought your glasses. On page one, the first page in, is the existing debt issues that tie back to the utility. And if you look under each of these debt issues, we do identify where the debt issues may be paying for or being a portion of it paid by the utility, and a portion by TID funds. So if you look at the second boxed in area from the left, the 03 utility revenue bonds, you can see that 79% of that is paid with TID funds, and you can see that as you go across the page. So there's an allocation. Not all of this is paid by the utility. Some of it's coming out of revenues that are coming from the tax increment districts. The new issue will be handled the same way. If we go to the second page in, as I indicated, the issue amount of $7,180,000 includes the utility building and also projects related to TID 6. So we're going to have an allocation breakdown here as well. And the allocation breakdown is found on page 3, where we break down the portion of the debt that will be tied and paid by the utility. That's the first boxed in area. The second boxed in area is the TID 6 portion, and we've structured the TID 6 portion to allow for the expansion at Sargento to get online, one, and then to start generating revenue to TID 6. So you can see the first principal payment is actually identified for 2013. They're going through construction right now in 2011. That building will be valued in 12, and then taxes paid and collected in 2013. So we wanted to match the payments with the anticipated revenue for TID number 6. What's new in your packet is the last page, and that is a pro forma, and a lot of numbers here, but we need to produce this, one for the potential bond purchasers. They're going to want to see what the debt service coverage looks like for all of the existing debt issues and this new issue. And we look at it two different ways. We look at it, one, without any offsetting revenues from the TIF, what is the coverage? And what we're trying to get down to, if you look at the in the yellow row identified as debt service coverage, we need a minimum of $1.25 of revenue after O&M costs for every dollar of debt. And you can see that at your low point, you're at about 1.9. Now, this doesn't reflect any rate adjustments that may take place. But we also look at it and we identify what the coverage looks like once you include the revenue that's coming from the TIF to help pay some of the debt. And that's the last column, highlighted in that orange color, the debt service coverage minus TID, and you can see when you include the TID revenue, you're well over 3. So you have sufficient coverage, a very strong coverage to issue the debt. And again, this incorporates the existing debt and the new debt both as part of this analysis. So this is important for Moody's when they determine your rating, and we're hoping obviously that they will affirm the current rating. And it's important for the potential bond purchasers, so you can show them the health, financial health of the utility. The resolution that's on the last page, I think it's probably in your packet as well, will call for the bonds to be moved forward, and move forward means that you allow us to start proceeding and preparing that official statement that we need to do to be able to sell these. And so you give us permission through this resolution to start that process to hold a competitive bond sale. And again, that is the intent here. Again, like we've done in the past, we will plan on issuing on a competitive basis, meaning we'll open it up so that we can receive bids from local banks, state financial institutions, and national financial institutions, and we'll send it to over 500 potential bond purchasers that are in our database that do bid. Typically, for this kind of issue, we'll see primarily Wisconsin firms, maybe Minnesota, Illinois firms that understand kind of the market that will bid, but we also send an official statement to each financial institution in the city of Plymouth and the surrounding area, so they have the opportunity to bid on it as well. So we certainly give the opportunity for the locals to participate in this, in addition to national firms.
Good. Thank you, Phil. At this point, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the resolution providing for the sale of 7,180,000 combined utility reserve bonds, resolution number 14. And then we'll open it up for questions of Phil, if you have any.
Second, Alderman.
We have a first and a second to approve the resolution for the 7,180,000 combined utility revenue bonds. Questions, discussion? Alderperson Jarvis.
When you talk about the debt service coverage ratio, it's 4.03 in 2013, and you said that 1.25 is typically the minimum. That what if it would be somewhere between 1.25 and 4.03? Does that affect our bond rating if we get closer to the 1 point?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
So, typically what we see is for higher rated utilities, we want to see a coverage that's closer to that 2 number. So $2 of revenue for every dollar of debt. That just kind of shows health and vitality of the utilities. Where we do see coverages that kind of get close to that 1.5, it will impact 2 things. One, rates that you'll receive, and also your bond rating. So, you know, I think when we've issued in the past, we've always seen a coverage, not including the TIP portion, usually right around that 2%. So that's where we are still.
And do you know offhand, because we were talking about this at a previous meeting, when we were exploring how much we could take out of the reserve funds, can you translate, like if we would have taken, let's just say, for example, all of the funds for the utility building out of the reserve funds, would that affect that 4.03, or is that doesn't go into this equation?
As part of this equation, you'll see that we do have non-operating income, investment income identified, so it would impact that a little bit. But that's really a rather small slice of it. What Moody's will do, though, is they'll look back and see how much money you have in undesignated reserves, and that'll play into the rating as well. Mm-hmm. So obviously, the higher the reserve amount, the better the rating. The simplified, there's a lot of other factors as well, but that's one of the factors they do look at. So historically, you've had, again, a strong reserve, and you still do, even with this application of funds, to offset some of this cost. I don't anticipate what you've contributed as part of this bond issue to have a negative impact in the bond rating.
Do you know what amount would have?
Well, when you get down to less than like 3 months operating, that anything less than 3 months is where we start seeing some concern for Moody's, and I think you're above that, so.
Thank you.
One last comment I would like to make is, and a couple of aldermen asked me when I came in, what's happening with the bond market, and it's, like always, it's a little bit of a roller coaster, but we've seen a rally. Rally in my world means rates are lower. We've seen a rally over the last 3 weeks. We hope that trend holds, if not continues, at least for the next month or two. We do, at our firm, actually believe that we're going to start seeing rates move up. It's a natural effect of inflation, and as we start seeing inflation issues, we will start seeing rates move up. So when does that happen? We're not exactly sure yet, but we would anticipate probably by fall we'll start seeing interest rates move up in the bond market. So hopefully the timing of this will work well.
We thank you very much, Bill, for updating us and explaining the process. Any further discussion with the council? Clerk will call the roll.
Lottie.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Thank you. Moving on, resolution item B, a resolution and order vacating a portion of Prospect Avenue lying east of the east right-of-way of Appleton Street in the city of Plymouth, Sheboygan County, Wisconsin, pursuant to Wisconsin statute 66.1003. This is resolution number 15, recommended by the Plan Commission on May 5th, 2011. And I think we'll have the city attorney briefly summarize this for us, and then we'll entertain a motion.
Since this has been before the council before, I'll just quickly go through some of the circumstances. When the subdivision was originally put together, the lot that we now know as the GTS parcel was individual lots, and Prospect Avenue was contemplated to connect to Traxler Street, which has been discontinued at some point in the past, and so we have this right-of-way hanging out into the GTS parcel. And what the council needs to consider tonight is whether there's a present need for that right-of-way or any future need for right-of-way purposes. What this resolution tonight will do is it will discontinue the right-of-way. So part of what would be ordered by the resolution is that the subject parcel, that portion of Prospect Avenue, would be discontinued, and that the subject parcel would be merged into the adjacent property. So that would all become part of the GTS parcel. All of the easements that are currently existing in that right-of-way, I understand that there's some utility easements there. Those would survive the discontinuance. The city would continue to have easement rights in the discontinued portion of Prospect Avenue. And then we would be directing the city clerk treasurer to record a copy of this resolution in order with the Register of Deeds, which would affect the discontinuance.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the resolution, stipulating, of course, that it's on file in the clerk's office and on the city website.
So move, Alderman Lottie.
Second, Alder Anderson.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Alderperson Jarvis.
Thank you, Mayor. At the last meeting, I did bring up that there were some neighborhood concerns, and those were passed on to the Plan Commission, and if there are any other neighbors, we are planning to have a meeting with Brian Gelser from GTS to try to see if there are some possible solutions to some of the refrigerated trucks and where they're being parked at night. So just an FYI that the owners have agreed to meet with the neighbors to try to come to some solutions. Thank you.
Any other comment? Clerk will call the roll.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on, item 7, appointments. Committee on Aging. This is the amended agenda item tonight. One name, Elaine Burgess, 1 year unexpired term to complete that term. And Betsy, she's going to kill me for this one, Kleidenrowski? Kidrowski? Kidrowski? Ah, so, very good. And that's also, she'll still kill me. That's also a 1 year unexpired term. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the appointments.
So moved, Alder Anderson.
Second, Sedlacek.
We have a first and a second to approve the persons named. I won't go through that again. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Appointments, 7B, Humane Officer, Deborah Noxon and Dr. Frederick Lord, 2-year reappointments, recommended by Chief Tauschek. The Chair will entertain a motion to approve the appointments for humane officers.
So moved.
Second, Alder Lottie.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And thank you for all the work that you do. We appreciate it. It works out very nice for us. Moving on, item 8, review and possible approval of a underground distribution easement related to the Sargento development. I'll call on Attorney Feber to start the discussion on that, and then the Chair will entertain a motion.
Well, as I understand it, there's currently utilities existing on this parcel. They're above-ground utilities, and so as part of the Sargento development, they're going to be converted to underground utilities. And if I'm misstating something, I'm sure John McKinnon will correct me on that. But the purpose of this easement is to basically reallocate the city's rights from the above-ground utilities to the underground utilities, and then some of the standard provisions that you're used to seeing in the easements are there as far as the restoration, that if the city disturbs the property in making repairs, that will be restored. There's also an indemnify and hold harmless provision, so if someone's out there from the city, either an employee or an agent, and they're injured, the city would not be going after the property owners in the event that there's some litigation there. I noticed in my copy that I did not have Exhibit A, but Patty assures me that Exhibit A is part of the final document which she has received. So she has 2 signed copies. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
The Chair will entertain a motion to approve the underground distribution easement as described, stipulating that it is on file and we do have the complete legal description available.
So move, Alder Lottie.
Second, Alder Anderson.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Sedlacek?
Yes.
Lottie?
Yes.
Fernsler?
Yes.
Riley?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Jarvis?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 9, authorize the sale of 615 East Main Street. Since Director Jurgis is detained this evening, we still don't have any news on the new family addition. Pray that that'll all come out okay. I'm sure it will. Why don't we have City Attorney Feber and Clerk Huberty maybe take turns to just bring us up to date and how, where we go from here.
Do you mind, Patty, if I
Go right
All
ahead.
right. So, the council should have received a memo from Brian dated May 3rd, basically summarizing his thoughts on the sale of 615 East Main Street. The personal property has been removed, and so the city is at a point where we could consider selling it. Brian has summarized the cost so far to date. I would note that the taxes, the real estate taxes remain unpaid, and the city clerk informs me that
She has received a past due notice, and the total on that was $16,414.19. The Director of City Service recommends that the city proceed with the authorization of the sale of 615 East Main Street with a reserve price of $15,000. The reserve price of $15,000 would cover the costs that the city has incurred in cleaning up and acquiring the property, but the buyer would then take the property subject to the unpaid real estate taxes. So Brian is looking for some direction tonight on how to proceed with the sale, whether that is putting a notice in the newspaper that the city is looking to solicit bids, or possibly hiring someone to do a public auction. So there are a variety of different ways that you could approach that, but mainly we're looking for some authorization to start the process as far as the sale.
Clerk Huber, do you have anything to add to that at all?
No, I think Attorney Feber covered.
Okay. The Chair will entertain a motion to authorize the sale and recommended a method to Director Yurgis to proceed. Alderman Lottie.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to authorize the sale at this time with the purchaser paying the back taxes at the price our director is stating of $15,000. With
Reserve.
at the reserve
With
of
reserve.
$15,000. And if the sale doesn't happen, then to go to an auction. Somebody to put it on a market, on a sale for reserve $15,000 for, let's say, 6 months, and then if it doesn't sell, then to go to an auction. So we're not sitting with it another winter, through another winter completely, or something. That would be my motion.
Second, Sedlacek.
We have a first and a second discussion on the motion on the table. Alderman Hanson, then Alderman Jones.
The discussion is that we sell it for 15,000 or above.
Reserve.
Reserve.
15,000.
So it isn't just at 15,000, it could be 20,000 or, okay, just want to make sure.
Plus the tax.
Plus the taxes, right?
And the discussion is what method you want to use for that.
Yeah, if I
Are-
may.
Alderman Hanson, you finished?
Yes.
Okay, Alderperson Jarvis.
What I think that we're missing is it's a public bid process that Director Yurgis is recommending. So it's not just we're going to put an ad, and I think we're going to put an ad in the paper to announce that we're going to accept bids until a closing date. Is that everybody understands it?
Yes. I think it would be appropriate if someone thinks there's better language of recommendation of method that would be clear. We would amend the motion to do that and give Director Yurgis some flexibility. Alderman Lottie?
I could amend it to say we'll put it up for a bid process with a reserve of 15,000, and if we don't receive a qualified bid within 6 months, then to go to an auction process. Is that a little clearer?
Well,
He wants to know
I,
about
Can't do that.
no,
advertising.
It's not.
no. Bill, why don't you make a comment here?
What I think we're gonna do is put an ad in the paper saying, we're selling this building, minimum price is 15,000. We'll accept sealed bids until June 15th, pick a day, open them up. If we have a buyer, it goes away. If nobody wants to bid 15,000 on it, we won't have anything, and then we'll go on to, whether you're gonna hire a realtor or whether you're
Or
gonna
an
put ad in
auction
the
or
paper,
something
whether
else.
you're gonna-
Yes, and I would point out that part of Brian's recommendation is that the city reserve the right to reject any bid for any reason.
And that's part of the motion as well.
That's
And
fine.
Yes.
One thing Brian talked about, and I think you talked about, maybe that's straightened out, is there was some issue about it staying a single family? Was that, is that,
There
is that a
was,
requirement? I guess
there
that's
was
the-
an original
Yeah,
discussion
part
of
the
for a minimum of 10 years, was it?
Something like that, yeah.
I don't remember if it was 10 or not, but it was a number of years that it stay as a single family.
Where did that come from?
Previous meeting, I think we
Yes.
agreed
This
to
is
that,
one-
yes.
Because that's gonna
Right,
affect the value.
Mr. Mayor,
You know, someone can make a duplex out of it or an
Mr.
office.
Mayor.
So I'm not sure if that's the best thing, but we already decided that.
That,
No, we haven't decided yet.
no, that was decided.
It was?
Back 2 meetings ago, I'm not sure. Anybody have a better memory?
No,
I think
I don't
that's
think
what
it
we
was
decided.
decided.
And I believe it was 10 years.
And I
Yes.
questioned where that 10 years came from at the meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, should we, and then somebody said, well, we could make, I think Attorney Feber said we could make it longer or shorter, or, and I think we,
Right, there was, the idea originated with this body that you wanted some restriction on the buyer's ability to turn that into a business or a duplex. It is in the B1 zoning district, B2 zoning
B2,
district.
it's a B2 business,
So there is potential for it to be used as a business, but it was this body's feeling that it should remain a single-family residence. There is some historic value to the property, and as Alderperson Jarvis points out, that it is set up for 10 years, but that was something that there was flexibility on. That was sort of a number that we pulled out of a hat as to what this, the council might be comfortable with. And that's what it is set at now, but certainly if you want to reevaluate that, we can do that.
Could we do this process, and if we don't feel it's a correct amount, we could then address
Yes.
that process at that time
Yes.
and see where we go with that?
If you don't get the bids that you're hoping to get, and you reserve the right to reject any bid for any reason.
For any reason.
You could redo the conditions that you've placed on the
Correct.
property and put it out for
See
bid
what
again.
happens from there. Alderman Fowler?
What is the assessed value of the building right now?
I believe it was 90-ish.
Yeah,
I think it was like 97.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
was through Dumage. They did the physical reassessment, I think, in 2007. They weren't allowed entry into the property, so they just
Well, should we get
assigned a
it,
value.
shouldn't we get it appraised first and, see, are we getting short change here at 15,000 plus the back taxes?
I don't,
Alderman Lottie?
I would answer that by saying no, for the simple reason is, when we had the Century Store closed, the city bought that building for $1, and we sold it, or we bought it for $100,000, and we sold it for $1 to get it back on a tax roll. So we had to get refurbished and get going again and get everything going again. And I think here, if you can get your amount here, you're looking at here from this building, if you get it refurbished and get it back on a tax roll, you're gonna gain it in the long run on the system. And you're really not losing any money on it. If you're gonna sit down and wait to make money on it, put it on a higher price on it and try to make money, you might be sitting with that property for quite a while. And well, taxes won't accumulate because it's a city-owned property now, but you'd be sitting on that piece of property for quite a while.
Bill, you've been in the structure. Is it safe to say it's going to need substantial work?
Yeah, you're asking somebody to put up really 30,000 if they're paying you 15 and paying the back taxes. And if you get that, I think you'd walk away happy because, I mean, if you spend it, the basement, there's only it's a little tiny piece of basement under there. It's not in the best shape. The building itself doesn't look, it looks livable, that, it could be refurbished, but I think it's gonna be gutted and completely redone on the inside. And the inside is a lot of work.
On our latest floodplain map, is that in the floodplain?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, I'd absolutely say no. It's not,
Okay.
it doesn't come up.
Yeah, we can always check it, or whoever wants to bid it can check it, but there was an expansion floodplain map. Alderman Lottie?
I've had comment from a developer that buys homes and redoes them and fix them up. And he told me, he looked at this piece of property and the windows alone, replacing all the windows with triple glazed thermopane is about $32,000, just for doing the windows without doing anything else on the building. So it's a substantial cost to refurbishing that building and getting it back on the market.
Yeah, restoring and rehabbing would be two different, but
Right.
yeah, it's gonna be a substantial investment of time and money for anybody that purchases.
So in other words,
Tell how bad it is.
what you're saying is we're not gonna sell it for 90 and have someone stick in 30 or 40 more too.
No, the roof is not there.
Okay, I mean, that's the end of that. Alderman Hanson?
I think it's worth a lot more than you're talking about, and we should go on from there.
It's a beautiful historic potential.
That's a good way to say that. Yes, it is. Any further discussion? Everybody understand the motion on the table? Clerk, call the roll.
Fowler.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item 10, we had a couple people come and address us earlier this evening. Carrie and Frank, I think I said that right. Thank you. And we appreciate your comments on that. If it please the council, I think take a minute, glance through these, if we can handle them all in one swoop rather than individually. Is anybody opposed to handling them in a group fashion? Alderman Hanson?
Could we get just a summary of what it's gonna cost, where the money would come from, and that part about, and I would agree with put them all in one group. Just that amount?
I,
Require anything from really from the city.
Chief, you want to address that, please?
Well, I could address it if you want. I think Bill has some more better numbers. But when you're looking at number 10E, I just checked with Frank during the meeting. If you would also keep in mind, it was inadvertently left out closing the library lot on Division Street under 10E for June 25th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you feel uncomfortable with adding that language to 10E, we would have to put it on the agenda for the next meeting. The library director, we were at a meeting with the Waldo group and it was discussed, and she's in agreement with that, closing a portion of the library parking lot that day, probably more towards the south end, towards the Frontier property, because they're gonna be doing, have some hands-on children
And that is-
facilities and workshop. But we would still leave on the north end of the parking lot. I think we talked somewhere between 5 and 8. I think leave that up to the library director to work out with the Waldog group, the exact numbers, because the library will be open, so they would want some parking there.
Is everybody okay with amending the agenda for E, as Chief Talchek stated, to be worked out correctly? Clerk Huberty?
I believe it says to enclose the southern 1/3 of the parking lot on the corner of Division and Main,
Okay.
on E. So I think that's what Martha, I talked with,
Is that
Jerry
language
and
close the
Martha.
southern 1/3? Is,
If you could, well,
That was
I read
worked
it
out.
over here before and I missed it, so, and we looked at it in the back, so I guess I will make sure it somehow it's library parking lot on Division.
yeah. That was worked out with Martha and Jerry.
Okay.
That's how they thought it should be
oh,
worded.
okay, okay, then,
And then that would be fine.
then we're okay, okay. Forget I said that, okay. Just, it's a good comment to note that it is the southern end of the library parking lot. Would that mean that we would close off that exit?
That exit on the south end.
Would be closed off?
Right, entering or exiting onto Division would
Right.
be closed, because you're closing Division Street.
Okay, just,
They would come in from the north side and enter and exit from the north end off of Main Street.
correct. So, just so we understand that we'd be closing that exit then. Pete?
Well, I just noticed in item G, approve providing electric services needed Steer Junior Park. For a temporary service like that, there is a permit fee that's involved, which the bulk of that does cover my fees installed correctly and not charging a permit fee, but with our new permit fee schedule, there's a small amount of money that comes out of that that belongs to the city. So if
So if you're willing to waive yours, are we willing to waive ours? Is that what you're asking?
That's kinda what I'm saying.
Okay, that's good knowledge for G, okay. Do we want to add to G waive permit fee? Would that be appropriate? Anybody have a problem with that? No. We'll add to G waive permit fee. That's a good explanation. Okay, thank you. Alderman Lottie.
If you go on G, I'm wondering where the schools, when the real schools are coming from, and the snow fencing. There's cones, barricades. Which barricades are? Is that from our street department or?
Yes.
We asked if we had snow fencing they could use, we do.
Okay.
Any barricades, if we aren't using them, they're welcome to use them. What they plan on doing is putting a couple of barricades on each fence and running that, yellow caution tape. It's not gonna be every it's not gonna be every barricade we have.
Okay.
Just enough to kind of ring things off so that the people working have a little space of their own.
Alderman Lottie.
My next question is then, if they put up if they get a beer license for that night, do they need fencing to fence that off separately, just like they do with the park?
That's up to the council to determine whether you want fencing, correct?
Correct.
That's your
Okay,
pleasure.
that's going to be a little farther down here, I think, huh?
No, that would be item 10D. And that states in the.
Yeah, we're on G. That would be D.
The code that the council has may require fencing, so that's, I've been told that the beer is going to be inside the tent that's going to be erected on the site. So and I know that's inside I think it's like a split rail fencing and that it specifically is excluding the children's playground fenced-in area. So if you want to require additional fencing inside the tent, for that area, that's your choice.
And that would depend on a tent, if you only have one entrance or two entrances in a tent, but if the tent is wide open all the way around, then I'm thinking you're gonna have to have some additional fencing, because otherwise you're gonna have people wandering in from all directions into that tent.
Well, on the north end, or I'm sorry, on the east end, you have the existing fence from the Stayer Junior Park, which is probably 4 or 5 feet high,
Okay.
like a rod there. And then, once again, on the north side, you have that,
Split rail.
split
Split
rail.
rail.
On the south side, you have the river, and the walkway is not on that side, so I don't know how brushy it is, I never walked underneath it. So you're probably really only looking at the east side. I think it would depend upon the weather, whether or not they'll have the tents down and the configuration.
The only thing I was concerned about is being able to patrol that area, and keep minors from entering that area like they do in the park. They have a fenced-in area when the band plays on Oktoberfest, and they monitor that area, and there's only one way in and out that they can monitor that better, That was my only concern.
And I'm sure we can work something out with the organization.
I think I would, stipulate, leave it up to the chief to come up to
And I'll get a hold of
a resolution that would be appropriate.
Once I get we'll meet ahead of time, and then when we get the tent up, which is gonna be there on Monday, I believe Sunday or Monday, it'll get so we'll have ample time to determine what we would need and figure out exactly where they're gonna put the beer. I think they're gonna have, food in there Friday night, just no band or entertainment.
Yes.
There is?
First of all, there's a $10 fee to get in,
Okay,
and there's gonna be live music.
okay.
But that's just gonna be for about an hour, and there is food, wine, and beer.
So it'd probably be similar to any other event that they have at the Art Center, so. But we can work on some of those issues and keep the council informed of what would work best for that event on controlling individuals. I'm assuming they're gonna have some type of control if they're gonna charge $10 per person.
I would think so. Alderperson Jarvis.
Thank you, Mayor. The sheet where it talks about the turning off streetlights and providing temporary power, that was in our packet. Is this from the utility? Is this from Director McKinney? Is this the $250 and the $500? Is that what you're costing that at, or are you actually going to charge this, or what do those monetary?
That's to what our cost would be to do those functions, and that's our estimate of cost to do the functions. We're not going to be charging the all dollars for that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Alderman Lottie?
She answered my question also with the
because I
city.
think you asked that question, what the value of that is. Correct, and that was a good question, so. With that, I suppose for the record, we probably should read through all of the items so that it is known, and I think it's good advertising too. So we'll give her a wing here and see what happens. Item 10, approve request from Plymouth Advancement Association and Downtown Revitalization Committee regarding the Wall Dog event. Item A, approve use of Stair Junior Park, excluding fenced playground area for Wall Dog events, set up, cleanup from June 20th through the day on Monday, June 27th. Item B, approve closing first 5 parking stalls in the west municipal parking lot adjacent to the review building and closing the west driveway of municipal parking lot on Stafford Street, which is next to the Exchange Bank building, Saturday, June 18th through Sunday, June 26th. Scaffolding will need to be erected in these areas. Item C, approve closing the alley south of Mooney and Siegert Law Office except as needed for emergency access from Monday, June 20th through Sunday, June 26th from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Item D, approve temporary Class B beer and temporary Class B wine licenses for the Plymouth Advancement Association at Stair Junior Park, excluding the fenced children's playground area on Friday, June 24th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Item E, approve closing Division Street from Frontier property north to Main Street and close the southern 1/3 of the parking lot on the corner of Division and Main Street on Saturday, June 25th from 9 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. and waive the fee for the street closing. Also, this would be closing the Stafford Street exit from the parking lot onto Division. Thank you, on Division Street. Item F, approve dogs in Stair Junior Park on Saturday, June 25th from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, and approve canine parade on Saturday, June 25th from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., proceeding from Stair Junior Park north on Stafford, east on Mill to the Plymouth Medical Plaza building parking lot, 515 East Mill Street, right through the parking lot, down parking ramp, and returning to the Stair Junior Park. And finally, item E, approve providing electric service as needed at Stair Junior Park, donation of up to 15 wooden reel spools turning off streetlights in various mural locations on Wednesday evening, June 22nd, beginning at 9 p.m. for the purpose of tracing and outlining of murals, and use of cones, barricades, snow fence, and no parking signs as needed in the mural locations, and waive the permit fee. With that,
Second, Alder
we have a first and a second. Thank you very much. Any discussion? Alderman Lottie.
Mr. Mayor, I have one question, and then maybe Mr. Remy could answer it for me. The alley south of Mooney and Siegert Law Office, is that a public alley there? It is. Back of Hub City. are there people that live in those apartments that use that alley for parking their vehicles
I asked
down
Jerry to
there?
make sure that he talked to the Stefanis for delivery. I'm not sure if anybody parks down there overnight. They probably do. He's gonna, although he said he's gonna have it on that one they're gonna do on a track that at night it'll actually be parked someplace, probably in the library by the.
Library parking.
Okay,
So,
all right.
and he also said if it became an issue, because he owns the land between Stefani's and the, I think it's the historical
Correct.
society,
Mhm.
he could build him a little alley to get back there, going that way if needed. So he was working with that, I'm trusting that'll be taken care of, but it isn't it isn't staging, it's something that can, if someone comes and they have to move it, in 10 minutes or so, I think they can,
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? City Attorney Fever.
I would suggest that motion be amended to include delegating appropriate fencing for the temporary Class B licenses to Chief Tauschek and personnel from the first and second or the council.
First and a second agreed to the modification?
Yes.
Yes, yes, okay.
I have
With
one
that
more-
modification, Alderman Lottie?
And I have one more question on the funds availability. Where would they come from?
What funds?
$495 for Public Works and $750 from the
There-
utility. That I know is coming from the utility. And John is willing, the utility has money to pay for that? That's what I'm asking. Okay, unrestricted reserves account. And then, Mr. Emick, where, do you have money in your budget to pay for it?
most of the cost I've got in here is labor. And we have that covered.
Okay, all right.
It's not gonna affect our budget. It's
Okay.
not
Okay. Fine, I don't have a problem. I just wanted to know where it was coming from,
Alderperson Jarvis.
Yeah, I appreciate Alder Lottie's concern of where the money's coming from. I thought of that as well. And I realized that these were value estimates of labor, but one thing that I thought if costs did increase, or it became more expensive for the city to incur some of these activities, that possibly the chamber must have a fund for the Wall Dog event, and maybe we could request that they help participate in some of these costs. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Clerk will call the roll. And this is all at once.
Riley.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you very much, and thank you to the Wall Dogs Committee. They're certainly doing a very fine job, and we certainly appreciate all their efforts as well. So thank you very much. Moving on, item 11, approve requests from Plymouth Arts Center regarding the Plymouth Festival of Fine Arts event. Application, and here I think we'll do, let's do all three at once in one motion as well. If there's no objection, I'll read them, and then you can decide as I'm reading. Item A, application for temporary Class B beer license for June 11th, 2011, from 9 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. at 520 East Main Street. Item B, application for street use permit to close North Street from the corner of Main Street to the corner of Mill Street with open access to the west driveway of the Plymouth Inn from 6:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. And item C, requests to use city signage, barricades, 50 folding chairs, and 15 park benches, and that these items be delivered to the Arts Center on Thursday afternoon, June 9th. With that, Chair will entertain a motion, and then we'll discuss, and I'll ask Bill Emig for a comment on
So moved,
some of
Alder
that.
Anderson.
Second, Alder Lottie.
We have a first and a second. You have any comment, Bill, on the usage for the signage, barricades, chairs, park benches, et cetera, in the delivery?
I mean, this is the third year they've done this. I think last year I gave you the cost it was, and, you know, moving benches takes longer than moving some barricades for the other project. So it's a little more costly, but, you know, again, this is something we've been doing, and, it doesn't affect the overall operations of the Department of Public Works. You know, it takes two guys probably, you know, 2 or 3 hours to round up benches and tables and chairs and whatever barricades, but it's, and then again, to come pick them up.
It's
And
during
this
the
is-
normal working hours that they do this?
Yes, yeah, there's no overtime involved, so, you know, if you wanna start looking at ways of making more revenue, which we make, you know, you can throw that out that we're doing it this year, but it may not do it next year. That's a real issue because, we can all see the budgets are gonna be tougher next year. But, you know, that one project was $500, this one might be double that.
Thank you. Any other, I'm sorry, did we have a motion already?
Yes.
Yes, okay, I thought we did. I dotted it down. Any other discussion? Alderman Sedlacek?
I guess my comment would be, in terms of, you know, what Bill was just talking about, you know, there was a time when the city council was giving over $5,000 to the Art Center, and we've cut that to half, and now we've cut it to zero, and this would be a way to help the Art Center offset some cost that, you know, by doing this and maintaining that kind of relationship.
Any other comment? Clerk will call the roll.
Hanson.
Yes.
Jarvis. Sedlacek.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. And if you have things that come up, Donna, by all means, check with Bill Iming on that. Thank you very much. Moving on, item 12, approve application for street use permit from St. Paul's Episcopal Church, 312 East Main Street, to close Division Street along the east side of the church, north for 1/2 block, from 11 o'clock a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. on Sunday, May 22nd, for Kids' Day celebration. Chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
So move, Alder Lottie.
Second, Alder Jarvis.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Sedlacek.
Is that, so they're just doing what would be the southbound lane?
It'll be both lanes.
Oh, it is
East
both
side,
lanes.
But from, like the crosswalk, north. the entire
Right,
road.
the crosswalk north.
Right, it'd be the entire road.
The
North
whole, okay, because it says,
from- They're meaning that, it's my understanding they're meaning going 1/2 block north.
oh, it's the east side of the church, not
East
the
side
east.
of the church, which is Division Street. And it
Okay.
will go from that cross, if you would look at the crosswalk.
Okay, so it's the whole road there.
It's the whole
Okay,
road.
all right.
Probably to their property line.
Right.
Approximately.
Yeah.
And I know he checked with all the neighbors, that was a discussion.
Okay.
I was here, I talked to him about it.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 13, discussion and possible action on a request from Bray Architects for a fee adjustment regarding the Plymouth Utility Operations Center programming, site selection and design. And I'll call on John McKinnon to summarize the handout that we have, and then also Attorney Feber can maybe comment on some discussion that she had with Director Yergis. John?
Okay, we have a request from the Architect Ray Associates Architects, and the request is to adjust our fee schedule. The fee schedule that we have is 5% of the contract amount for a certain building. As they laid out in their letter, they're working on dividing this fee schedule based on the value of the building. And they On the onset, they thought that building would bring between $7 and $8 million. So they said they generate the fees that they need, and they equate it down to 5% would be their fee schedule. As we continue to work and trim the project, we went out for bids. The estimate at that point in time was $6.5 million. And I think this would have not probably been an issue with Gray, but then the bids came in at $5.1 million and 20% reduction from the 6.5 down to 5.1 million, which should also translate based on 5% fee schedule that your fees anticipated returning off this project also diminishes as well. So the lower bids cut against them. So they put a request in hearing that there's some justification on their desire to achieve a written fee for the project. I and Brian Jurgis looked at it, and what we basically did was split the difference from what they thought they would be enjoying on this project to what they would be enjoying at the 5% at the $5.1 million threshold. And I believe that's the essence of your letter that you have in front of you.
That's correct.
And neither Brian or I are in a position to authorize that with the architect, and nor do we make any promises to the architect. If you ask me for my recommendation on it, I understand where the architect's coming from. I think the architect's been doing a great job for us to say, and I would recommend that you consider the adjustment in the fee schedule.
Thank you, John. Attorney Fever, did you want to comment on that? You had a discussion with Director Jurgis.
I did discuss this with Director Jurgis, and as he pointed out, the architect had been billing the city for services, but there was nothing contemplated in the original fee agreement related to the times that they went back to the drawing board and redid the plans that they were offering the city based on direction from the council. And so it is Director Jurgis' recommendation that the city authorize the additional $36,702.50 to Bray, which would be the cost splitting that John McKinnon mentioned.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
Mayor?
Alderperson Jarvis.
I move that we decline this request for additional fees.
We have a first and a second to decline the request for additional fees. Discussion? Alderman Seslacek.
John, just to make sure, the 6% fee that they're asking for would give them the amount that they thought they would get at 5% based on the $7 to $8 million building. Is that about right? Or is that the $6 million?
It's getting close to the $6.5 million building.
Which is halfway between the 5 and the 7 to 8.
Yeah, I didn't map it out exactly, but that's approximately.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other? Alderman Hanson.
What is our association with Bray Hoff? Do we use them? Don't we use them? That aspect of it. And of course, we don't build every year either. So I guess that's my question. How many times have we done business with them? And
It's my understanding that this is the city's first experience with Bray, and I have that coming through the Director of City Services. But I would point out that the city has chosen to team up with Bray on this project, and we're just in the infancy of some of the services that we're going to be requiring of Bray through the construction process.
The way Alderperson Jarvis, then I'll make a comment.
I imagine that $8,648 is what Attorney Fever is contemplating. That's what's left for construction administrative services. And I would suspect that we're going to, regardless of whether we deny or approve this request tonight, we are still going to be, there will be another request for additional funds for their services, is what I suspect will happen.
And I'm not in a position to speak to that. I just don't know.
I read this, John, that at this point, we could in effect, correct me if I'm wrong, that we've paid them $283,000 in round numbers. Their price was $292,000, and if we don't approve this, we actually have to ask them for a refund at this point.
That is correct, Mayor.
So, in effect, we are asking them to refund to us in the neighborhood of $28,000, and we still have 12 months of work for them to do in supervising the project. That doesn't sound like a very good way of doing business. I mean, they billed us in good faith in the process. They did not come to us, correct me if I'm wrong, John, when we, as a council, sent them back to redraw, shrink the building and make adjustments to it. They didn't at that time come to us and say, well, you know, we already drew it once, approve a extra, if that's the right word, to redraft it, because they drafted it based on the committee and working with the utility personnel to come up with the design that they had. Am I overstating that or incorrectly stating that?
That's correct. And I think the reason Gray didn't approach us on this until now is the numbers kept changing. And once the contract came in and that was finalized, as to what that number is, then we know. And when you do the math at 5%, as you're correct, there is a refund going back from Gray back to the city, because we pay them on par vested payments based on so much to be completed, based on the estimated value of the project.
Thank you. Alderperson Jarvis.
There are other ways that this contract could have been structured. And when they agreed to the 5%, there was an expectation that we were going to end up building an $8 to $10 million facility. So I don't think that, I think that they made a business speculation and decided that a 5% would be their commission, and they take that risk. We never gave them an indication that we were going to, for sure, be spending $8 million on this project. And that's the risk you take sometimes in business. Sometimes the facility will come in larger, and sometimes will come in smaller. It's the same with the realtor when they sell a house. They always stick with the 5%. So I don't know if that argument applies to this necessarily, but I'm not comfortable with giving them more money.
Alderman Fernsler and then Alderman Lottie.
Yeah, I think this is a business, and this is a business expense. And you don't always look ahead and say, well, I'm going to get this or I'm going to get that. And yes, we did send them back to the drawing board, but that's what they're in business for, to get what we want. Maybe they were dealing with a committee, and the committee said, we want this. When they finally came to the council made an adjustment. At that time, they should have said something. They didn't say anything, and the way I look at it, if you have an architect working for you, and you send him back to the drawing board 3 or 4 times, that's what he's there for.
Alderman Lottie.
I think that the request is, when you read in here, was not based on their going back to the drawing board. It's based on the bids coming in low. If you read it right on the bottom there, it says it. While we knew the market is competitive, we never anticipated the bids coming in this low. So it wasn't based on how many times they had to go back and redo this building. It was based mainly on the bids coming in low, the way I read this thing. Now, I don't know, but I'm thinking, that's not our fault that the bids came in low, and they had to take a lower percentage on their They didn't take a lower percentage, they just wound up getting less money because the bids came in low.
City Attorney Feber?
And I would just direct your attention to the third paragraph, where there is an acknowledgement, in hindsight, we should have requested an additional fee to redesign the project, that they felt that they could have absorbed the cost with that initial 5% fee. So I think it's a combination of those two factors.
Mayor Pullman?
Alderman Hanson?
You know, I think they probably wanted to get this dollar amount when they set the fees for us, considering what we were asking to do. I don't know, I have a hard time asking for money back on my particular point on this. So I would consider it to be that we call it even where we're at right now and split that difference on it and not pay the additional 8,000 or whatever it is. But that's my opinion.
Any other discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
No.
Riley,
No.
Lottie.
Did you read the motion, please?
The motion is to decline the request from Bray for the additional fee.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm still at no.
Okay, so we're all clear on the motion. The motion is to deny the additional funds.
Okay.
Yes to deny, no not to deny. Okay, so,
Yes to deny.
did I say that right?
Yes to deny.
Yes to deny. A yes would be it for me as well, deny.
Right.
That's right.
Okay,
Okay.
just so we understand where we are.
2 yeses instead of 2 noes? Yeah, 2 yeses.
Okay, so the motion is to decline the request. So it is a yes from John or a yes from Anderson and a yes from Riley. Lottie.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
No.
Hanson.
Yes.
Motion is carried, funds are denied. I have a question for Attorney Feber. Does that mean that we prepare an invoice requesting the refund of that number?
I don't know if it would be in the form of an invoice, and I would leave that to your Director of City Services and your Utilities Manager, how they best feel would be appropriate to request that refund. But yes, there would be something in writing based on the contracted fee structure, that there would be a refund due to the city.
Alderman.
I would just have
Alderman Lyon.
a question. What if we called it, we didn't give them any additional funds, and we didn't ask for any money back? We just left it stand where it
Well,
was.
that's what Alderman Hanson said before. Is it proper, parliamentarian, to consider that motion on top of this vote? Or is that more of a reconsideration?
You cannot change a motion that's been changed. You can move to reconsider this motion, bring it back up, and then do the adjustment. But the only persons that can move to reconsider it were the ones in the winning fashion.
Right, and that's 7 of you.
Correct.
So the answer, Alderman Lottie, is yes in your follow-up discussion.
So I would make a
you can
motion to
move
reconsider.
Wait, we may not have to. The motion that we had was not to pay any additional funds.
No, it was to decline the request
No.
for additional funds.
Declined the request for additional funds.
And not, well, the additional funds was
36.
$36,702.
But the 28
That's what
is
you meant.
part of that.
Alderperson Jarvis
It
was
was
the
part of
36.
it, but that has already been paid. So
Right.
we're not gonna pay any additional funds.
But we're going to ask money back.
We're gonna ask for money from them
We
back
don't
to
have
us.
to ask for it back.
Well, yeah, we do.
That can be the discretion of
Well, you
the
don't
director.
have to, no.
Is that what your motion was?
If you don't ask for it back, it just, everything stays level.
Attorney Fever, I would ask for a ruling.
If the council has some question as to what exactly they're voting on, I think a motion to reconsider is appropriate. I think you should make a determination as to what exactly you've decided. It seems that Alderperson Fernsler thought that we were saying we're just not going to pay the additional $8,000, which was sort of as Alder Hansen had suggested, but I don't know that that was the intent of the entire body. And I thought that the motion was to decline the request, meaning we will not pay you the additional $36,000 or any portion of that.
She made that.
I thought it was just the contract terms stand. We are not going to be authorizing anything beyond that 5%.
So
Alderman Hanson.
I move to reconsider the motion.
I'll second that motion.
And your motion is to?
To reconsider the motion that we just voted on. I was on a winning side, so I can move to reconsider that. We can debate whether we're going to consider it, but.
We have to take a motion, take a vote to reconsider, right?
So you can vote, you can discuss. A second to reconsider, discussion on reconsider.
Mayor Pullman?
Alderman Hanson.
I believe we should reconsider this because we are a little confused about what we passed. And so that would merit the reconsider part of it.
Any other discussion on reconsider?
Well,
Alderman Lottie.
one of the reasons I would reconsider is if we're depending on this company, or corporation, to service us for the next year and so many months to get this building standing and finished, and they're going to be doing the inspections on it, I sure don't want them coming in with a negative attitude about it, that we've made them pay money back to us. And now, are they going to, well, they're not going to come out and say it, I'm not going to give you the inspections you deserve, but I'd rather be on a good terms with them. So that's why I'm thinking we should reconsider. I don't want to pay them any more, but I don't want to have them paying us back either. That's the way I feel about it.
Any other comments on reconsideration motion? Clerk will call the roll.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
No.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Reconsider motion is approved. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mayor Pullman?
Alderman Hanson.
What is on floor right now is the original motion that Alder Jarvis presented. So that's right back exactly what it was, what we're discussing and talking about now.
Okay.
Mayor Pullman?
Alderman Hanson.
Could I get some clarification then on what the motion was from Alder Jarvis?
Okay.
Alder Jarvis.
My motion is that we do not go above the 5%, that there any additional compensation, that we decline that request. Now, my am I allowed to, am I in
Yes.
discussion right now?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a balance of $8,648, and I realize that we still are that's not going to cover the expenses for the next 12 months. I don't know what Director Jurgis is going to do, but I don't think it's fair for the city to be put in a position that this business is saying that they didn't adequately charge us. It's kind of backwards. I feel that, as I said before, 5% is 5%. So, and if you guys want to discuss some kind of amount to keep them happy, I don't know. They should be happy. They're getting close to $300,000 for this work over a 2-year. Is it a 1-year or 2-year period?
Well, it's $255,000.
Right, close to $300,000.
Not $300,000. We've paid them $283,000.
Right.
The calculation is $255,000, which means they have to send us back $28,000, according to the explanation of sticking with the 5%. So we are in effect, if I'm understanding the motion, asking them for $28,000 in round numbers, not exactly, refund. Correct?
Yeah, but I think Director Jurgis could be given the discretion to figure out how they are going to be paid going forward. Regardless of whether you decide to pay them the 283, the 329, or the 255, I still think we're gonna have to renegotiate something here over the next 12 months.
They have a contract.
Yeah, because it's already in
And
there.
their
that they're
contract
gonna
is
be
already
paid for that.
signed.
So you think they're gonna be happy with just the
I
8,000?
don't know. The reason I changed my
You know?
view there was when I asked the question, are we gonna bill them back? Then that became a whole different ballgame.
Well, that's because that's what the numbers indicate. That's why I said it that way.
I guess I would be willing to amend to the, but they can't come back and ask us for more money. That's important.
They can do that, we don't have to take it.
Well, in other words, the simple way to say the motion would be that we agree to pay $283,750, which they have been paid to date and no more.
Right.
And to fulfill the contract as originally signed, duty-wise. Is that the simplest way to say it?
I think that's what she's talking about.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
not if she says that she wants to stick to
Don't get her confused.
5%.
She knows what she said.
Well, no.
Well, no, we've paid 283 to date.
Correct.
What is 5%? 255?
255 is 5%. That's the calculation.
$5.1 million contract that you awarded last month, 5% is $255,000 for engineering, for architect fees. So right now, when I read the contract, I need to bill these guys and recover the dollars that we paid out based on the estimated project cost. And a certain percent of completion that was done at that time.
Attorney Feber, is that your understanding of the 255 and the 283?
My understanding of the 255 is that's the 5%, that's
That's
the
in the
done deal,
contract.
that's the contract. And then the 73,405 would be the difference in what the contract 5% turned out to be and what it was contemplated as. The 8,000 is what they are saying. You've already paid 283,000, and when they say leaving a balance of 8,648, that's the 283 plus 8,648 would equal the 292, which is what the 292 is the 255 plus the 70, or not the 255.
One half.
Yes, plus the 36.
Yeah, one half of the 73.
So
So,
they've been paid 283, but they want an additional 36,000.
no, 8,648.
Would be the additional 36.
That's what would, they've already been 28 overpaid according to the new calculation. Of the new calculation, they're asking to split it at 36. They already say they have 28. They're only asking for an additional
Right, so
8648.
that sentence is very misleading up above, that they want us to pay the half of the additional 73,000. That's the problem.
Well, okay.
I'm just
So-
going to
so-
stick to the 5%, and we should just,
That's the 5%. Alderman Hanson.
I move to amend the motion to delete the 5% and put it that we're even with them as right as of now. And we do not pay the additional,
283,750.
we do not pay the additional $88,648.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second to amend the motion, different from the original motion, first and second, to agree to a paid-in-full amount of $283,750 for their services. Did I state that correct?
Correct.
And that's the motion right now. We have to vote on that first.
The amendment, but we can discuss that too if you want.
Correct. So, discussion on the amended motion.
what percent is the 283,750?
There never was a percentage put on that number.
Right, but what is it?
Well, we'll do the quick calculation on my pink calculator.
would be,
What's our total cost?
Yeah, that's official, my pink calculator.
It's like 5.8. Because you're only 8,000.
Oops, I gotta do 2As.
6%.
No, it's,
Oh, no, yeah.
it's,
'Cause it's half.
it's about 5.5
Yeah, I
in
got
round
5.5.
numbers.
About 5.5, yeah.
I forgot that it was.
If we gave them the 86.48, it would
It's
be
funny that they
5.5.
this out.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So it's technically short of 5.5.
Just that amount.
Just a little bit, right.
Any other questions?
I do have a.
Alderperson Jarvis.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I do have a problem with this that, that they've been billing after. Have they been billing after they noticed on April 13th? When did we get the bids in?
We received bids on April 7th and we awarded on April 12th,
When did we know that they were over?
on April 7th.
Well, when we got the bids in.
And then they bid, they charge based on how much of their work is done. The bulk of their work is done in the design, so they're 90% done. And that's how the math plays out, so.
And how did you receive their costs? Were you given spreadsheets that showed actual hours by each staff person? Or were you just given a letter that said we worked X amount of hours per month?
We're given an explanation based on the percentage of completion that they're done at. They state where they're at 70% complete or 90% complete, and then it goes against the estimated cost of the project, and then 5% rate.
But did you get a breakout of line by line what the staff?
It's a fee schedule. I'll do it for 5%.
It's a percentage. You don't do that.
They have to keep track of their.
Not an architect.
Because they don't necessarily charge you by the hour.
No.
They charge you based on the percentage of the cost of the project. I'm sure internally they keep track of their
Right.
hours. That's
Sure.
why
Oh,
they
yeah,
wrote the
right.
letter that they did to you.
Any other discussion on the amended motion?
Mayor Bowman, it's just the
Alderman
amendment.
Hanson.
Just the amendment we're talking about and voting on, not the whole motion itself.
Yeah, just the amended motion.
Actually, it's just the amendment.
Amendment to the motion.
Amendment to the motion.
Just the amendment we're talking, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm just.
We'll say it that way.
Motion to amend.
Fine with me.
I
Clerk,
have one more question.
Alderman Jarvis.
Thank you. Now I forgot because you paused. How did you work out in the contract how they were going to be paid? What did the contract language say? That they were going to be paid on a quarterly basis or at the end of the project or on a?
The contract has some language in it to be paid throughout the project. And that they will submit invoices to us based on percentage of completion. And they tell us what stage that they're completed at.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Lottie,
This is to amend the motion, right?
this is on a motion to amend.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Jarvis.
No.
Hanson.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Motion carried. Now we're on the original motion, correct? And the original motion, Clerk Huberty, would you
Is to.
make that as clean as mud to us?
I guess I can make it here, to pay $283,750 to Bray in total fees. Is that clear? Is
Does
that?
everybody agree with, that's the intent? Okay, any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Jarvis.
No.
Fowler.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Sedlacek. Anderson.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on. Item 14, discussion and authorization for the submittal of solar electric PV small system incentive application with focus on energy, and authorize H&H Solar Energy Services, Madison, Wisconsin, to proceed with the installation of the solar PV tracker system at an estimated cost of $56,240, recommended by the Plan Commission, May 5th, 2011. And just do the back one, Pete. That's fine. We have with us tonight Frank Barth from WPPI, and who is also working with 3 or 4, is it utilities? 3 utilities. I can't remember a chain. It seems like you got so much to do. Why don't you explain it to us?
Sure. First, just a little bit about what I do. Energy Services Representative is my job to promote and implement programs that are offered through the utility, through Focus on Energy, and through WPPI Energy. The particular program we're looking at tonight is offered through WPPI Energy, but it runs in conjunction with programs offered by WPPI Energy to promote renewable energy. And this is part of WPPI's renewable energy program. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail here. There's a lot of things here we can talk about, but just to summarize, the program basically is split up into resource project and demonstration projects. Resource projects are typically for solar to produce more than 5,000 kilowatt hours a year, and if it's something other than solar, like wind turbines, things like that, it's 25,000 or more for resource projects, kilowatt hours. We're looking at a demonstration project here for the Utility Operations Center. Demonstration projects are really meant to bring awareness to renewable energy through solar installations and wind installations, and they are typically run around 5,000 kilowatt hours per year in production for solar, and less than 25,000 for other renewable sources such as wind. Basically, the program is designed so that through funding from Focus on Energy and WPPI Energy, they provide about 80% of the funding, with 20% coming through utility funding. Now, in this case here, we're looking at 2 what we call pole-mounted tracking arrays. There's an array mounted on each pole, about 2.9 kW each array, produce about just under 10,000 kilowatt hours per year, at a estimated value of about 90 cents per kilowatt hour. That's close to $900 a year. Now, again, the purpose of this installation is not to get the utility off the grid. You'd have to have a pretty big solar array or a good-sized wind turbine to do that. In this case here, it's more to provide visibility and education toward and awareness of renewable energy. Along with this installation, we would provide a monitoring and web view, and I'll show you a shot of that in a bit, called FAT Spaniel. With that, you'd be able to look at what the system is producing at any time, and also it keeps a running total of what it produces from the beginning of its life. And there's different things you can do with this software to slice and dice it. There's educational tools. It's It's also our intent to provide some educational curriculum to provide to the local schools, so they can build that into their science or whatever related curriculum. And so again, that goes with the intent of the installation, which is to be a demonstration project. The funding for this, in this case here, typically the focus funding would be more than what you're seeing here in a typical demonstration project. In the case here, it's less because it's being installed at an electric utility. They don't typically provide funding for electric utility installations. In this case here, because part of the building is water utility, there's a prorated incentive. So it's we would be eligible for about $3,000 in funding from Focus on Energy. $39,000 would come from WPPI Energy, and the rest would come from Commitment to Community Fund, which is a fund that is collected through ratepayers to fund energy efficiency projects and installations. Are there any questions so far? Sure.
Alderman Hanson.
With this, this is going to be used to generate some energy for the utilities itself. So potentially it could pay for itself in
5,000 years.
Well, if we take this value here, and this is the current value, who knows what it's going to be 20 years from now, and you were divided in, if this whole 58,000 came out of your pocket, you can see that it would be, quite a long payback. And that's typically the situation, whether it's wind or solar or in that without the incentives that are available through different funding, right now it's a long payback.
Alderperson Jarvis.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Is the Commitment to Community Fund a national or?
It's a state fund.
Oh, state fund. Through, okay. A private or a public?
It's public.
Okay.
Correct.
The $2,500 for monitoring, is that due every year?
No, that's the cost of the software package itself. The cost to just like whether you had Microsoft Word or whatever, to keep that license going every year is $60.
Alderman Fowler.
Did H&H Solar Energy, was this project put out to bid, or are they pals of WPPI or what? Are they owned by WPPI?
No, they're an independent firm. It all depends on the community and what the requirements are as to whether it goes out to bid or not. Some cases they have, and we just did an installation in the Holstein roof-mounted system, and that did go out to bid. H&H happened to get the bid, but in that case it did go out to bid.
Alderman Lottie.
I would like to know what the comparison is between this and wind turbine in kilowatt hours.
I have an example. Alderman Fowler, you had mentioned the wind turbine in Random Lake.
Yeah.
At the
Plan Commission.
Plan Commission, thank you. And in that case there, I guess the best way to compare it is that's a 50 kW wind turbine. That particular system cost $352,000. Okay. Focus on Energy paid about $115,000 of it. We Energies paid another $132,500. The local funding amounted to about $104,000. That system produces about 108,000 kilowatt hours a year, or that's what it's estimated to produce. So far, since it came online in September, it has produced just over 66,000 kilowatt hours of the useful life of the turbine is about between 20 to 30 years, is what they estimate. The warranty on that system is 5 years, parts and labor. After that, you're on your own, and the annual maintenance fee is $1,500. As to what it costs to replace a gen head or a gearbox, I have no idea. I can't imagine it's cheap. So when you're talking, let me talk about this system then. This system here, 5.9 kW, about 10,000 kilowatt hours a year. The cost figures are up on the board there. The life expectancy is about 30 years. On this warranty, there's 10 years on the inverter. The inverter is what converts the DC power that the panels generate into AC power. And the panels are warranted to, for 25 years, produce up to 80% of their rated capacity. In other words, they have to produce at least 80% of what they're rated at for a period of 25 years. If they don't, then the company will replace them. Most solar systems really aren't any moving parts. This case here being a tracking system, there are some motors because the system does track the sun, but because it does track the sun, you get about 25% more production out of this system than you would over a fixed roof-mounted system. So, there's going to be a trade-off. The wind will probably produce a little more, electricity over its lifetime, but you're going to have more maintenance involved with it than with solar. You also have zoning issues. Obviously, you're not going to let everybody put up a wind turbine in the middle of town. May be different on the outskirts of town, but it's a whole other set of circumstances.
Attorney Faber and then Alderperson Jarvis.
Thank you, Mayor. It's my understanding through the Director of City Services that the city, through Plymouth Utilities, would make a contribution of approximately $16,000 towards the installation of the solar system, the solar panel system. Is that correct?
That comes from the commitment to community funding that's been collected over a period of years to go towards energy efficiency projects and renewable energy projects. So it's not.
And we participate in that, and that's how it's accumulated.
Correct. For example, that money gets spent in a lot of different ways. If some of it went to Sargento to help fund some of their efficiency projects that they put into their and some of it goes towards helping put in new lighting at commercial businesses.
So, and maybe this is a question for John. So it won't be $16,000 coming from the utility reserve fund. It's something that the city has already been contributing to and now may reap the benefit of. Is that accurate?
That's correct. It will not come from the reserve fund. It's coming from a designated fund and collected, as Frank has laid out. We're held accountable for that fund to the state of Wisconsin, and there are certain guidelines which we need to follow in order to spend money out of that fund. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it's not a designated fund.
Alderperson Jarvis.
How much do we contribute each year to that fund? How much is in the state fund, and how much have we received back from that fund?
I can't tell you how much is in the state fund. In terms of how much we contribute, it's the ratepayers contribute to the fund. It's a state mandate. In most communities, it's basically $8 per meter per year, spread out over the year. In Plymouth, it's based more on how much you use.
It's $60,000 per year.
And we've been contributing that for a long time.
Last 4 or 5 years, 6 years.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and then we spend pretty close to that amount of money each year. And then we have a transition right now. The 60,000 starting this year is going to focus on energy, and we have a balance in the current fund that we need to spend to zero by the end of the year. Am I correct on that, Frank?
Correct. Basically what happened was we were in a situation where we, the investor-owned utilities, the money they collected, they were required to send their money directly to the state. WPPI worked out a deal so its members got to keep their funds locally and distributing them how they see fit through their programs, and that's how they worked it. A couple of years ago, we basically saw the benefit in participating more in the Focus on Energy program. WPPI worked out a deal where they basically bought into half of the program and not the other half. So we still kept our funding locally to distribute to our customers as we saw fit. We did such a good job of taking advantage of the Focus on Energy funding and doing our funding that the IOUs got upset about that and said, you know, either they need to be in or out. So we basically had to make the decision to be 100% in Focus. So that means now all the money we collect for the state efficiency fund, beginning as the first of the year, gets sent directly to the state, and then we get that back through administering the Focus on Energy programs.
Alderman Fowler?
When I read this thing, it says technology is viable and affordable. And I look at this, you know, total of $58,740. The payback in simple terms, just taking $58,000, not even future value. The payback period is 66 years. So, is that viable? I don't think so. Now, if it's nice to take, okay, we take a busload of kids from Plymouth High School, 14-year-old freshmen, we drive them by this thing and say, that thing will be paid for when you're 80 years old. And they might say, I don't think that's viable.
Right. I don't disagree.
There's got to be better producing systems than what this H&H is coming up with.
Well, basically, in terms of solar panels, there's only a few companies that you purchase them from, and they're all very similar. They're pretty homogeneous. In terms of the word viable, the way I interpret the word viable is meaning it's a technology that works.
It doesn't work if that's what it produces.
But if you look at wind or solar, and you look at the payback, in either case, it is very far out, no matter which type of system you're looking at, without incentives.
Well, my son, who I know you talk to because he installs wind turbines, and I call them turbines because turbines leaves me another taste. But he put one up for $72,000. He gets a check from the power company pretty much every month.
Well, I don't know what program he's...
No, I'm not
he's
saying he
working
should
on
do a
it.
wind turbine here. No way am I saying that. First of all, I would never vote for anything like that.
Wow.
But I mean, you can't call this viable.
Alderperson Jarvis?
Yeah, thank you. I understand where Alder Fowler is coming from, but I also think that there's some things that you can include in here is the educational value of this and carbon footprint reduction lessons and things like that. And I think that none of it's really coming directly out of our pocket. This commitment to community fund is a little misleading, but I think that we're contributing to that on a constant basis, that we should reap the benefits of it. But I think that we should move forward on this opportunity. And one question related to the educational side of it. Are there funds set aside for somebody to provide the information to tours, to the field trips? Or John, are you going to be there to give the, when somebody comes, or?
They'll be incorporated as part of our workload. We have to give them a tour of not much to look at, but we're happy to. They'll see that when they drive by.
And it might be something where you incorporate a trip to the waste treatment plant and then go over and see them. I guess that's up to the teachers as what they want to include in the curriculum. I mean, to John's point, there really isn't much to see when you're looking at it, but
Alderman Fowler?
Well, I think it's typical government response. Not my money, but we're stealing from the ratepayers, we're stealing from the taxpayers. Some of the Focus on Energy gets money from the state, so does this other, what do you call it, their commitment to community fund, right? So the taxpayer pays for something that obviously is not going to produce enough electricity to run my TVs for a couple of years. That's
Well,
crazy.
this would produce enough for one average home per year. So that's basically what it is, but again, the purpose is demonstration, not to get the utility off the grid.
I got a clarification on a question that Alderperson Jarvis asked. The law was passed in 1999 for this commitment to community program. So after that, it passed the law. So we've basically been out there 10, 11 years on the commitment to community program, not 5 or 6 I mentioned before.
Thank you.
I believe it, that a yes vote for this project shows a total disregard for the taxpayer and the ratepayer of our utility.
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Zlotchek.
In some ways, I would agree with Alder Fowler, but I also believe that there needs to be more opportunities for solar to be used, for solar to be shown as a way to produce energy rather than burning coal or the uranium that we have to store underground for, what's the half-life of uranium?
A long time.
Yeah, a long time.
That's a good answer.
And through the course of time, hopefully, solar panels can become a more efficient process. If we vote no on this, this money will be spent somewhere else. Period. It will be spent somewhere else. We've been paying into it. We'll save a little bit of money for the utilities in terms of the energy that they use. And I believe that in some ways it's a way for us to get some of our money back that our ratepayers have been paying into. And so I'll be voting yes.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the authorization of $56,240 as recommended by the Plan Commission on May 5th.
So moved.
Second, Alder Jarvis.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Alderman Lottie, then Alderman Fowler.
Mr. Mayor, I have to agree with Alder Fowler.
Burn on the kilowatts for your investment. I don't, it would be one thing if we were trying to provide energy for our entire city this way at this point in time. But I think that there's a good educational value, and it's, I don't think we should be sending money away at this point that we've already contributed, like Alder Sadlacek had said. So I'm going to be in support of this project.
Any other comments? Alderman Hanson.
I'm in support of this project, maybe not totally the cost of it, but the intention of what it does, reducing the carbon. We don't have it mastered what solar energy does, but I just believe that for future purposes on it, research and things like this, I'd have to agree with the project go forward on, because of we don't know how much carbon is not used, etc. overall on it. So I think it's a good intention of it. Maybe costly, I'm not sure, but how do you tell what the other costs are, and value to health, etc.
Any other discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Lottie.
No.
Bernzler.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Fowler.
No.
Anderson.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you, Frank, for taking the time to explain that to us tonight. Pete, you want to get the light? And the question is, how are we on time? We're good? Okay, we'll keep the ball rolling here and see if we can get it on one DVD.
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman
Would
Fowler.
it be possible to make a motion to put this out to bid?
I don't think that's possible. The bid has already come in through WPPI and contracted out. We're not part of that process. Is that my understanding?
That is one process. If the council wants to change the process and put it out on a bid, we can do that. But H&H has been the contractor of choice with WPPI, and enough said, I guess.
Yeah, been voted on. It's enough.
Moving on, item 15, authorize utility manager to execute change order number 1 through 11, totaling $48,796 and adding 104 days to construction contract for the 2010 water main and sanitary sewer work in Edna Street, Riverview Drive, and Western Avenue. John, would you explain that one for us, and then we'll entertain a motion, please?
Okay. At this point, we've come to the conclusion of the contract. There are a number of change orders executed during the life of the contract. There were 10 monetary change orders and one dealing with the days. And now the 10 monetary one, there's actually one that's a negative change order. They average about $5,000 among each of the change orders, doing a variety of things that we encounter in the project, from encountering field soak soil that had to be excavated, laid on top of the ground, and tested, and then disposed of at an approved landfill site. A variety of things like that. On the time issue, the contract had 3 components to it. We had the Highland Avenue water main, which we worked to get that in around the high school schedule in the month of June, July. We had Western Avenue, which went under construction, and we pushed to get that done before Labor Day. Riverview Drive, which is up at the fairgrounds, was supposed to be done before Labor Day because of the challenges that the contractor entered into, such as fuel soaked ground up by the Highland Avenue by the Shell station there, and over on Western Avenue by the former Getz Auto station there, caused some delay in the project. And long story short, it became obvious to us that the contractor could start Riverview Drive, but it would have tore up during the time of the fair going on Labor Day weekend. And we said, no way, we're going to allow you to tear that up and leave that open for the fair. So contractor pulled off of that and allowed the fair to take place, and came back in and worked on Riverview Drive. And then, of course, on Riverview Drive, they had challenges on that with a water main break that caused its own challenges on September 30th of last year. So the contract days was then 104 days was added to it to make get the contract completed to the time that it was completed at, and which is on November 24th. And basically the job stands done. We do have one repair job to do. I believe on Riverview Drive is a small hole that was dug up there for the correction issue on that, and that'll be paid, if not this month, be paid in June. And we're holding back funds to cover that, make sure the contractor does that last piece of work. So anyway, we've come to the end, and we have about $49,000 of change orders on to a $591,000 project. And I'll also let you know that the engineer rejected contractor's request for additional change orders, and worked on reducing the 10 that you monetary ones by over $6,000. So I think we've done a pretty good job trying to minimize the amount of change orders, but we did have change orders, and have a lot more detail we can go through if we want to go through line by line change orders, but that's the summary of that. Anyway, it's significant enough that I need to report to you on that and have you consider approving that.
Thank you, John. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the 11 change orders totaling $48,796 and adding 104 days to the construction contract as indicated.
So move, Alder Lottie.
Second, Alder Anderson.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Alderperson Jarvis.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to mention that this item, 15, 14, and 13, they all could possibly be, I don't know why the Director Jurgis or Director McKinnon didn't send this to the Utility Committee. I just want to make a point of that we have this new committee, and these items probably could have been discussed there and maybe save some time here. Thank you.
Any other comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on, item 16, authorize the purchase of 2 pool tables from Joe Yukovic. Pool tables at an approximate cost of $4,000, including the equipment for the Plymouth Adult Community Center from the designated donation account funds. And did Attorney Feber or Clerk Huberty, did you talk with Brian on this as well?
I did.
Okay, good. You get to stand in then.
There's not a whole lot more beyond Brian's May 4th memo, which should be in your agenda packet. He has included a printout of some other pool tables, sort of like cars. They run the gamut of costs. I mean, you can get a very high-end one or a low-end one. But in the end, it's Brian's recommendation that the council authorize the purchase of the 2 pool tables at an approximate cost of $4,000, which would include the equipment, and it looks like the installation is $1,000, but we're saying a total estimated cost of $4,000 for the Adult Community Center from the donation account funds. So the $4,000 including the equipment. He didn't have much to say aside from that.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Alder Anderson.
Second, Alder Jarvis.
Take Jackie's.
We have a first and a second to approve the authorization of 2 pool tables for a cost of $4,000. Any discussion? Alderman Fowler?
When we were discussing the Adult Community Center, moving the current furniture and a pool table that they had there, they said they didn't have room for that pool table, so didn't we give it to Pick or something?
No.
That pool table, if you touched it, the legs fell off it. That's the reason it was never used.
I thought they said they didn't have room for it.
Well, maybe they didn't have room for it when it fell. But I mean, they've got room for 2 pool tables.
Alderman Lottie?
From what I understood, the pool table at the senior center it was still usable. It was in a little rough shape, but it still was usable. And I understand that was taken over to the youth center. And these tables became available, and they would be put at the Pick building, Generations building, and there is room for these 2 tables. And Mr. Jurgis checked with other facilities and senior centers and that's one of the items they use quite a bit is pool tables. And so these came about, and that's why the Committee on Aging, I attended their meeting, and this was explained to them, and that's why they made the recommendation to the council.
Alderperson Hanson?
I was just going to mention that the Committee on Aging did approve this. We had a tour. We took a look where the tables would go. The condition and the style of the table was a very solid, full slate, not two pieces on it, so if it did get moved, it would not goof things up on it. And they were refurbished, is my understanding, on these pool tables, and we did some other cost on it, so it was unanimously approved by the committee and agent to use the funds from this to purchase two.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Lottie.
Let me make one more comment. Now, the pool tables, this is not only the cost of the pool tables, it's costing installation, they're gonna, the delivery, set up, the whole thing, and the pool cues and the balls, and it's all included in the price. And I think the Committee on Aging did a great service to the adult community center over there with this purchase, a recommendation.
Any other comment? I would ask for a clarification from Council Liaison Alderman Hanson. We had one pool table at the old facility, and now we're having two at the new.
Correct.
Why are we buying the two tables from the donation account when we only had one at the old one? Why aren't we buying just one?
Okay, well, first of all, my wife approved of this, but I just want to let you know that.
That's out of order, sir, you know that.
I'm sorry.
That's out of order.
I apologize, I didn't, trying to be funny, but I wasn't very funny, I apologize.
I asked a simple question.
There's room, they felt that there'd be tournaments that would be played with two groups in there, and that was the reason they have it set up. They're also going to potentially come back and ask for purchase of ping pong tables, and they may be doing some darts in a designated area on that. And I truly do apologize, Mayor, on that. It was not, apologize for that. It's not.
Any other questions? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 17, approved 2010-11 tavern operator licenses as indicated previously approved by the chief. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So move, Alder Lottie.
Second version.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 18, approved treasurer's report and authorized payment of April vouchers. Clerk Huberty, would you read the treasurer's report, please?
For the month of April, the City of Plymouth balance on May 31st was $12,241.46. Receipts, $3,825,903.56. Disbursements, $701,317.30. Oh, let me start over.
Start that one over.
It's too
this
late.
time put a comma in the front.
$2,701,317.35, leaving us a balance on April 30th of $1,136,827.67. For the Plymouth Utilities, the balance on March 31st was $75.92. Receipts, $4,604,705.40. Disbursements, $4,604,695.09, leaving us a balance on April 30th of $86.23.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report and authorize payment of April vouchers.
So move, Alder Hanson.
Second, Alder Lottie.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Fowler.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Lottie.
Yes.
Jarvis. Riley.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 19, other business, building permit report for April 2011. 35 permits issued with an estimated total of $380,442. Item B, April reports acknowledged for filing clerks, Department of Public Works, Fire Department, Library Director, and the Police Department. Item C, minutes acknowledged for filing Library Board, April 4th, Committee on Aging, May 3rd. Plan Commission, May 5th. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.